morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So I'm here with good news about Evolving Skies. But when I say it's good news about Evolving Skies, I mean it. It is good news about Evolving Skies. But I need to warn you before we get going here, I don't think this is going to last. This is great. You should be excited. This is wonderful. You should not be expecting this to last forever. What am I talking about? Well, it turns out the price of singles of Evolving Skies has actually started to fall, which is something I didn't see coming. And I do this all the time because I am completely and utterly obsessed with the Pokemon trading card game. I will check in, especially the big sets like Evolving Skies, and I've told you before, Evolving Skies was the set from the Sword and Shield era. I pop in every so often and just kind of have a little bit of a look at what's going on in terms of the prices of the singles, etc. And if there's any significant movement, I'm like, oh, that's interesting, let's make a video. But I went and had a look today thinking, hey, I wonder if it's gone up enough to warrant making a video, and in fact found out that it's all started going down. Actually, there's one exception, but the vast majority of them have started going down. Of course, I have been reporting lately that Evolving Skies has started making its way out there again. We started seeing quite a bit of Evolving Skies out in the wild, which is something we weren't really expecting. We've seen it in, back in May, we saw them in V-Strike tins, as an example. We've seen them popping up in various products. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, it seems like that is actually starting to affect the price of singles. And if we start off with the big boy, Umbreon Vmax, that is coming down in price. Now, I want to be super clear when I say this, right? When I say that it's coming down in price, I don't mean, hey, look, it's super cheap now. This is the Umbreon. This is the card from the Sword and Shield era. No, this is not becoming super cheap or anything stupid like that. But it is coming down. And it is starting to come down quite nicely, honestly. If we have a look at the last 6 months over on TCG Player, we can see that it's currently sitting at a $585 card. And weirdly, 2 of the last sales were $585 and $580, and then there was a lightly played for $600, which honestly seems like a bit of a rip-off. And we can see, of course, that, from February up to April, we saw a big jump from $543 up to $650. But then from there, it's gone from $650 down to $584. We've seen a drop of like $65 in the past few months. And honestly, this coincides with about when we started seeing Evolving Skies popping up in a bunch of products. And no, I don't think this is a coincidence. This is wonderful. Because this is a card that a lot of people aren't going to own. Because it's too expensive. It's too premium. It's too... look, I adore this card. I think the artwork is phenomenal. I would love to own this card. I'm still not buying it for $585. But there are going to be people out there who have been waiting on this card, and it's starting to come into their budget. And again, we can see that from basically April time, we've seen a real significant downturn in the price of this card. And there's no reason to believe that at least in the short term, and this won't just keep going. And this is fantastic, because this is going to make it more available, and it's going to make it easier for some people to get. And I know what I'm saying here, and this obviously has to be taken in context. I know that $585 is not exactly in the realm of the majority of Pokemon TCG fans and collectors. It's out of range for me at that price. But that doesn't mean that it's not coming down nicely, and that's a good thing. But we're seeing this kind of across the board. If we have a look at the last 6 months of Rayquaza VMAX, we're kind of going in order here of the most popular cards in the set. We've got it sitting there at $256, except actually the last 2 sales were at $234. That is coming down. It started off, 6 months ago it was $286. It went up to over $300 by the beginning of May, but then since then it's gone from $300 down to $256. That is a significant drop. And I know, still out of the range of a lot of people. Once again, this is a card that I would very much like to own. Once again, this is a card that I absolutely will not be buying, because I cannot justify that amount of money on this card. If I'm going to be spending $300 or $250 on a card, it's going to need to be like my favorite card. But let's not, bury the headline here. That is a steep drop. That is a drop of about 1/6 of the price in the space of like less than 4 months. That is big. Now, one card I would consider going a little bit over the top for is the Leafeon Vmax. This is one that I absolutely want. I love this card. I adore this card. This is one of my favorite cards in the Sword and Shield era. This is one of those Haiganosuke cards that really made me sit up and take notice and, cemented him as one of my very favorite artists. Haiganosuke is my second favorite artist in the Pokemon TCG. I am a gigantic fan. And this is just a beautiful, beautiful card. And what we've seen here, now this one's a little more all over the place. 6 months ago it was at 160, went up to 175, it's now sitting at 150. It's about as low as it's been in the past 6 months. But you'll also notice that, the last 3 sales, one of them was 125. Now, there was also a moderately played for 120 and a near mint for 143, so it's not all quite that low. But the fact that this card has dropped to like $125, this and, Rayquaza and Umbreon were arguably not particularly reasonable just because of the price of those cards. They were never really going to be. Here, though, I think we might have actually hit the point where regular people are going to be looking at these cards and going, I can maybe afford that. Because this is a card that's been on my list for a long time. Well, ever since Evolving Skies came out. And honestly, at this stage, this is one that I'm looking at and I'm going, I might have to do it. Because at the moment, as I explained, Evolving Skies is in a good place right now. It's showing up in a bunch of products. It's become a lot more available than it has been in the past. It's one of those ones that comes out and every time it kind of gets a restock, it just immediately sells out again. But the fact that it started popping up in all these random products is actually very, very awesome and very, very relevant. And it means that we might start seeing this more and more and more. And it won't last. I've told you this, it's not going to last. But at least in the short term, it's bringing these singles prices down. And they could keep falling for a little while yet. Just please bear in mind there is going to come a point where they do start going up again. You have been warned. Now, Glaceon is unfortunately a little bit of an exception. I say unfortunately, it's fortunate if you're looking to sell a Glaceon. It's unfortunate if you're looking to actually buy the Glaceon. Because you'll notice here that this is one that hasn't really gone down in the past 6 months. I did tell you there are still some exceptions here. So this one started, 6 months ago at 145, did drop as low as 136, and is now basically back up to 145. This is, however, another one of those, and the recent sales are 143, 143, and 150. But this is one of those ones where you actually really need to look at the y-axis on the graph, because you may well notice that this is going up by like $10. From the bottom of the graph to the top of the graph here, you're talking like $10, actually $9. So that is, in a weird kind of way, basically flat. So it's not quite as bad as it looks. The Sylveon, again, is very much like the Glaceon, jumping up and down a little bit. But it started at 140. It's gone down $10 in the past 6 months. But there is a near mint which has sold for 125 in the past couple of days as I record this. So this is another one that, it might only be a $15 drop. But having said that, that's more than 10%. In the space of a couple of months. This is another one that's dropping down really rather nicely. Dragonite V, if we move off from VMAXs onto Pokemon V, we can see that Dragonite, got as high as 115 back in the middle of May, but now it's down at, it's a sub $90 card. Which, again, no, that's not a hideously cheap card, and I'm not going to pretend for a second that it is, but reasonable? Oh my, yes, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very reasonable card. This is the kind of one that people are going to be able to start picking up who were looking to buy it before but haven't been able to. We can see Umbreon V has dropped from over $100 to under $90, which it's not the Umbreon, don't get me wrong, but it's still a very cool Umbreon and we see this dropping. And obviously, the drops here are a little bit lower because the value overall of the card is a bit lower. But the point I'm making here is that we're seeing these cards that for a long time have just been going up and up and up because of how scarce they've been, actually starting to fall. This is about the best time to buy singles for Evolving Skies that we've had in a long time. And then the last example I'll give you here is Rayquaza. This one's gone from over $90 to about $75 in the space of 6 months, and we've actually seen a couple sold in the past few days for $72 and $73. So this is another one that is actually dropping still quite nicely, and the lesson to be learned from this video is really quite clear. If you are the kind of person that wants to be picking up these singles, it's time. This is not going to last forever. You have not got too long to do this. Now, they may still keep falling for a while. What I'm going to do personally is keep an eye on it, see what keeps happening, and then see where we go from there. If they keep falling, I'm going to hang on. If it looks like they might start going up again, you know what? Yeah, then it might be time to buy. But regardless, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that these are falling is a big deal because this is not generally what we see. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, that's what you need to know. Evolving Skies is finally coming down in terms of singles. Don't expect it to last forever. But now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me if it's time for you to be picking these up. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross and you've been watching PTCG Radio.